Hey everybody, it's Chris Harrison here with another episode of the Main Points Podcast. Today we have Evan Hall. Evan is the president of the Macon County Fair here in Decatur. The Macon County Fair will run June 5th through the 9th here in Decatur on the northwest side of Decatur. For more information, check out maconcountyfair.com. We appreciate all that Evan has done to help bring the fair back to Macon County. Really, this podcast and the fair is about educating, elevating, and celebrating agriculture in our community. We appreciate Evan's passion and that of his board that do this on a volunteer basis. We look forward to welcoming you to the Macon County Fair. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, and tell us a little bit about what else you do for the community too.
Well, sure. Well, Chris, first, thanks for having me on. But yeah, most people know me. I'm, of course, commercial insurance agent for First Mid Insurance Group, which for 60 years we all knew as J.L. Hubbard Insurance and Bond Company. And so I've been in that role for 12 years. And but in addition, a lot of members of the community probably know me because of my family business, which is my call auction company. And so I bought half of that business in 2018 from my father, Mike. And that kind of tailspinned into now we also own an implement dealership and sell farm equipment called Double H Implement Company. And I farm in rural Macon County as well. So that's kind of the roots, kind of the background. But we're here to talk about the fair.
So all those roots, though, commercial insurance, implement dealer, auctioneer, all feed into the county fair.
That's true. It's one thing that Decatur can really be described as a big, small town. A lot of people have always said that, and that's definitely the truth. But, I found that, from different kind of career fields that a lot of people that I meet and run into, there's a lot of similarities, and those kind of conjoin with the Macon County Fair. And so, the background on the fair, I got involved, I guess it would have been probably 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And really the reason be, I grew up showing livestock at that fair. I grew up at that fairgrounds. And one of the things that I talk about with civic groups when we go and speak to them about the fair is I always ask the question, what do you remember about the county fair, or when's the last time you've been to the county fair? And most people in the community will have a story like, oh, I went with my grandpa and we'd get ice cream at the 4-H food stand, or I showed hogs there, 40 years ago. There's always kind of this feel good, sentimental thing about it. And it was no different for me. And so, when the fair hit hard times in 2012 and 2013, and of course, it's no secret the Farm Bureau took possession of it. They kind of cleaned house and started over. I felt pretty strongly like, hey, I need to do something about this. And it's an organization that I love, and it's too important to our community to lose. And so we did. And we started over. Today we've got a board with 14 members. We went out and recruited all those members. They're all new since then. And our board has, went from a position where at one time it was pretty significantly in debt to we've got, nearly a $300,000 cash position today in liquidity. And we're growing. We're growing the offerings. We're growing our programming. But really at the end of the day, what we feel a county fair should be in the 21st century, so to speak, is number one, we should promote our local agricultural producers. And number two, we should be educating our public about agriculture. I mean, that's really what we're here to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess there's kind of the hidden number three of let's have a good time,
Right. Well, and that's interesting because really the values of this podcast are that we want to educate the community about what is happening in Decatur and Macon County. We want to elevate the events that are happening. So that's what we're going to do is talk about, the event and what's going to be happening, and then really celebrate. I mean, it's educate, elevate, and celebrate. So you really fit right in those same themes.
How many times, I guess, maybe I'm putting you on the spot by asking this, but I'm sure you hear this in the community all the time too. People say, well, there's nothing to do in Decatur.
All the time.
And doesn't it just drive you nuts?
Not so much anymore though. I've been here, 20 some years now. I came right out of college and it was a thing, but I think people are careful to not say that now because there are enough things happening now. Yeah. And again, that's what this is bringing those things to people that are from Decatur that have said that in the past, or people that are new to Decatur to go, hey, we want you to know about these things. Here's a way to connect. Here's a way to connect to agriculture. And like you said, promoting agriculture.
Right. You know, and in my opinion, and I think our board would agree with me on this, is that because we sit literally in the largest single ag economy in the United States, being Decatur, Illinois, I mean, we should have the best county fair in the country. You know, without question, we just should. And that's a long ways to go, but, you know, we feel like we've made some head and shoulders strides, you know, maybe compared to some other Illinois county fairs as far as benchmarking, but we got a long ways to go. You know? And so that's kind of part of it. But
hey, you know, just this week we talked about the Chinese proverb, you know, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. What's the next best time? Today. And really, you guys have done that. And,
I like that.
And you've done it, and it's growing.
Well,
and each year we're watering it and nurturing it and pruning it. And, you know, really, Main Place Real Estate is happy to come on board as a sponsor this year, really in a strong way and with regard to the livestock. And because we know the carnival for the snow cones and the corn dogs and the funnel cakes and the carnival. But to me, the county fair was agriculture and livestock.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that we want the community to know, and that's why we're coming in the sponsorship role, is helping promote the livestock barns, you know, and helping invite community members to come in and see the animals, touch the animals, you know, and in the right way, and having the exhibitors, you know, have their hogs on display to go, you know, let them root at your nose, you know, and so that's what we want to do, is really help connect, you know, the community members that have never been on a farm and certainly don't live on a farm or grow up on a farm, to go out and see what is an Angus cow. It's not what you see at the zoo.
Right.
And as I get disappointed anytime I go to the St. Louis Zoo and I'm like, that's not a cow.
Yeah.
You know, I have my own impression of it.
Right.
But that's what we want, is we want to help connect people to what agriculture is. And like you said, being where we are, we need to be a great county fair.
I love that. And Chris, well, first of all, thank you. You know, thank you for all of your guys' support. And, you know, that means a lot to us. And, you know, fortunately, we've had a lot of challenges with our infrastructure, and we've got a 60-acre campus that originally was built in 1954. And to give you a little bit of history on that.
Yes, please.
That was kind of one of the things that we like to talk about, is our fair has got an extremely rich history. This will be the 168th running of the Macon County Fair.
Wow.
And so actually the first county fair, which ran, this was pre-Civil War, actually ran in Fairview Park, hence the name Fairview Park. 10 years later, during the Civil War, Union troops actually camped at the fairgrounds, which is, of course, now Fairview Park. And so that was kind of part of the attraction, is that people would, you know, they'd drag hogs and cattle in town and go get their blue ribbon. And then, oh my gosh, they can see, you know, the troops and stuff like that. So, you know, we've kind of asked the community a few times, we'd really like to collect photographs of some of the previous fairs and locations and data like that, which unfortunately a lot of that after 2012, that's all lost. You know, we've got very little of that historic information, but you know, we know that it's a very rich history for the fair. So
what we should do is get a hold of Paul Osborne at the Tribune, because if anyone has any archives or recollections, that's where we need to go. Cassie, that's a next show guest there too.
That would be cool. That you know, that's something we'd love to see. But you know, we're kind of in the position we're trying to make our own history, you know, going forward. And so the question that gets brought up a lot is, you know, how does a county fair stay relevant? And so some of the big topics in agriculture today are things like sustainable agriculture and regenerative agriculture. Okay. Very flowery words. And so that, you know, if that's one thing that we can kind of teach the public a little bit about, we certainly hope that we can. And those are popular for the use of cover crops and things like that, trying to keep nutrients in the soil without having to pay for them, essentially. Okay. That's kind of the whole theme of that. So, but one of the basic things that we kind of have to do, and it's almost scary to say this because I did teach as an intern when I was in college at Milliken here in town. We went around to the majority of fourth grade classes in the city of Decatur, at Decatur Public Schools, and taught an ag in the classroom classroom. And that was through a grant that ADM had given to the 4-H program at the time. And granted, this is 10 years ago, but it's really amazing how many students at 4th grade age, really can't tell you the difference between basic types of livestock, can't define the term agriculture to even start with. And so, it's a pretty important job that we have. The most important thing that we do as human beings, number one, is feed ourselves. And, if we don't know where that's coming from, that's a pretty scary place to be.
Right.
So, that's kind of the starting blocks of that. But, at this year's fair, we have some new shows. Poultry's back for the first time in over 10 years. Okay. We'll have a poultry show. Rabbitry is back, which rabbitry is something that there's a lot of people that live in town that it's a way for them to kind of jump in and essentially have some livestock per se and learn how to show. It's very popular. The goat show was new last year. This will be the second year. And we actually had the highest paying goat show in the state last year. So we were pretty proud of that, and had a reserve that went on to win at the Illinois State Fair, which we were pretty proud of. In addition, the cattle show this year, which will be the Saturday of the fair. Last year we had over 100 head of cattle, and we did just recently find out that we have what's called the Jim Flock Memorial Day show coming to the Macon County Fairgrounds this Memorial Day. And Jim Flock was a Macon County farmer who tragically died too young. And there is a large cattle show, which is nationally known. And they picked us. They said, we're going to go home to Macon County.
So this is a traveling cattle show?
It was at another rotating county fair before. And, we had some talks with them. And part of that was because Jim, who was a huge livestock supporter and himself was known across the country, Macon County was home to him. And so I think that was part of it. But, we've got good facilities. We've been investing in them. So that'll be a nice little weekend and an economic driver for town. So those are things that we're proud of.
That's awesome.
We really feel like it feels more like a county fair and less like a street festival. And that's the way it should be, really.
So what does that mean? Let's unpack that. Not a street festival, a county fair. And there's going to be elements of a street festival. Oh, yeah. Like I said, funnel cakes and, hamburgers and bratwurst. But what are some of the other events that are going to be happening there?
Sure. So some of the grandstand events that you can expect to see at our county fair. Number one, the Queen pageant. That's the Wednesday night, June 5th. That's a tradition. That's a very traditional thing. But, that's kind of got a modern take. My wife is the director of that, actually, and puts a ton of work into it. And the last two fair queens that Macon County has had have been top 15 contenders at state. And these young ladies have really prepared. They knew the answers to the questions on agricultural topics. They really presented themselves well. And that's kind of what we're looking for. It's an educational experience, number one, for whoever the contestants are. But number two, it's a great networking tool. I mean, these young ladies meet a lot of local business owners. They help the fair in fundraising. And they learn a lot of skills that are going to help them place themselves in a job later in life. So very, very important thing. Also, Wednesday night is the Downstate Classic.
What is the Downstate Classic?
One of my favorite things to talk about. So Macon County has got one of the richest histories of any county fair in horse racing. And
we have horse races.
Yeah.
You're telling me we have horse races at the county fair in Decatur.
I bet I have this conversation once a week with just somebody out in the community. They're like, you can see live horse racing in Decatur. Yeah. For 1 week a year, you can, and it's free. It's free to go out there and see that. And everybody goes, what? And so I think that's one thing that, just the general population doesn't know that, right. So we're working to try to get that word out there because it's incredibly fun. And this is sulky cart racing or standard bred racing, which is a very, historical, it's just mainly something that started here in America. You can thoroughbred race anywhere around the world, but, we've got a historic track with a lot of times that were set here on some great horses. Past presidents of the Trotters Associations, came from here. And so it's going to be a big day. We have the highest paid single day of racing in the state of Illinois for standard breds.
Unbelievable.
Which, another thing. That's here in Decatur.
And again, the communities know these things. And I've never been to this. I even grew up going to county fairs. I've never been to horse racing. So.
Yeah. And one thing about that is if you'd like to come, on a budget to the fair, Wednesday night's a good time to do it. And the reason I say that is if you come to the Downstate Classic, you'll pay the gate entry to come in, but you won't have to buy a ticket to go to the grandstands.
Okay.
So you can see horse racing. There is a cash bar and a champagne bar for adults. There's going to be a live jazz band at those races. It's a high-end thing. And there's actually a ladies' hat contest to kind of play off that theme of horse racing. So, something fun to look forward to. That's like I say, that's a big deal for Wednesday.
So what other events can, people that have just looking for something to do, whether they're interested in agriculture or not? What else do we have going on?
Oh yeah, Thursday night, Marshall Tucker Band. So this is, the first time in 20 years our county fair has really dipped our toes into a big, well-known named band, and it cost a significant amount of money. Unfortunately, we had a number of local businesses that stepped up to the plate and said, hey, we're going to help with this, and which we're very thankful for. We're looking for more. This was a big year financially for us, so we're looking for some more sponsors and partners to come in with that. But Marshall Tucker Band, like I say, it's something that we feel is a good first band to kind of get back in the game.
Absolutely.
And what's nice about that is Decatur really has kind of set a name for itself as an entertainment capital.
It is. I think with the Devon and the Lincoln Theater and even some of the street and music festivals, that aren't the Decatur celebration anymore, but like we've still got those theme type things, whether it be Oakwood or North Street, like all those things that are happening. It's
right.
Again, that's why I don't hear there's nothing to do anymore. And if they are, they're getting the smackdown.
Yeah,
so,
I would agree. I would agree. So that's Thursday. Of course, there's a rodeo. Guys getting points to go to the PBR. So it's a big show. It's a new rodeo promoter for Friday night. Truck and tractor pulls, of course, Saturday night. And then Sunday is the demo derby. So that's kind of some of the grandstand staples that you can really expect from a county fair. But, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and a lot of the, more silver-haired people in our community might remember this, with something new that we're kind of reintroducing this year, is the Sale of Champions. And so specific to kind of what we talked about, the heart of the fair is the livestock shows. I mean, that's what's really important. That's the meat and potatoes. These kids are paying for their college based off of, how well that they show. They're making an investment in livestock that they're probably going to breed. That's going to further the production of agriculture. I mean, that's what we're here to do. So it's very important. But the winners, the reserves and the grand champions, they get a chance to come back Sunday night. So, for example, if they show their hog on Saturday and win, they'll come back the next day, Sunday night. Same thing with cattle and all the rest. And if they're a winner, not only did they win their prize money, but they'll get a chance to, quote unquote, sell that head of livestock in the Sale of Champions. Now, how that works, it's kind of a hybrid. Nobody that shows up, if you show up and say, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to buy something and help these kids out, you'll get a picture and a plaque and recognition, of course, and all that type of thing. You're not going to go home with a goat. So don't, just take a big, deep breath. Nobody's going to buy.
Never mind.
So
maybe I want a goat.
Yeah. Well, there's no expectation of that,
Okay.
But kind of the reason for this is that local businesses will come together and they'll say, we'll give these kids a chance to make a little bit more money. And this is probably one of the hardest, quote unquote, scholarships that there is to win, because the amount of work that it takes to raise a reserve or grand champion head of any type of livestock, especially to compete in a show of, Macon County's caliber, that's a lot of work. You're not just typing, 3 or 4 paragraphs and let's see if we get $1,000. So to have a winner that goes to the Sale of Champions and have people competitively bid on it, it's a way to say, good job, kid. You've really worked your tail off. So it's something that we feel pretty confident about. And so we personally want to invite every, local individual or business owner here in Decatur, if you feel comfortable doing so, even if you show up to the sale with, a couple, $200 or $300 in your pocket, you still could walk out the owner, quote unquote, of a chicken or a hog or something like that, and get to know that, hey, I did something for my community that is very, very special. It's, really got some deep roots and history in our agricultural community. So
awesome.
We're excited for that.
So to somebody that's, listening to this, watching this, sitting out there going, I want to go to the fair, but I don't know what to do there? Like, I mean, it can be kind of intimidating to walk into this barn to all these kids working, or, maybe somebody taking a nap in the bunk or whatever. Like, how open is it, and what can people expect when they
absolutely.
go to the fair?
As long as you come to the fair during open hours, you can go through any barn that's there. Okay. Any patron who says, hey, I'm paying my $5 to go to the fair, we encourage you to do so.
Okay.
And what I would also say is, maybe take a moment before Fair Week and go to our website, go to the MaconCountyFair.com, look at our schedule, and try to plan your family's trip around one of those livestock shows. If you can come on a Sunday or the Saturday or the Thursday evening, there's things like the ranch horse sorting competition, which is a lot more intense than the rodeo that's commercialized that we're going to see on Friday night. But there's no crowd. There's just participants down there.
Right.
And that would be something that if you've got young kids, you can get up close to the action. You can talk to participants. And there's not a single person who shows livestock that if you walk up and say, hey, what's its name? What breed is this? They're going to give you more information you could possibly want.
They've probably raised that. That's their pet. That's their friend that they've had.
Some people golf, some people buy an old car, but for people who are showing livestock, I mean, this is what they live and breathe.
Yes.
And they will be glad to tell you all about it. And I think that's important because there's so many misnomers about agriculture that go on in mainstream culture right now. I mean, you turn on the news, occasionally you hear the things about the methane gas and the cow farts and all this. Spend some times with some guys who are really working in ag every day, real producers, and I think people will quickly find out that there is no better conservationist than the American farmer, and that's just a fact. So, we want to encourage that. And the best thing about it is, this is the cheapest vacation a family can take is to go to the county fair. So.
Absolutely. Growing up, that was always our vacation. Well, it's Fair Week, you save your money for that.
Yeah.
So, that's good. And again, I know I kind of, poke fun a little bit about the carnival and the rides and that and the games. And, that's fun. That's part of it. Throwing the darts to pop the balloons or the ring toss or whatever to get the way oversized stuffed animal that you'll be carrying home and wondering, what are we doing with this?
Right. And the way we look at it, those are some staples. They're important. They may not be what the fair is really here for, but frankly, we have to have those things. So, the carnival, the food vendors, that's what pays our bills, Sure. And so to look at our fair and say that, over the course of, 4.5 days, we're probably going to spend $80,000 or $85,000 in fair premiums. So that's the prize money, which goes to the showman. You got to make that back somewhere.
Right.
And of course, our organization, just like every other non-for-profit and every other business in our community, inflation's hitting us too, and to have that 60-acre campus to take care of it, it's tough. So, we look for some creative ways to try to keep supporting the fair. Things like event rentals, boat and RV storage in the wintertime. Actually, this Saturday is our cash bash, and tickets can be bought at the door.
Okay.
So that's a nice little shot in the arm for us. If you're available, please attend. We'd love to have you. But there's a lot of things that we do throughout the year that keep the organization going.
Good. Well, I want to say thank you to you being president of the board, and certainly to your board of 14 members that are all community members that have 2 or 3 other jobs themselves, along with taking on, and with all of those people, I'm sure it's just because they care about the fair.
Right.
And they want it to continue. They want it to thrive, and they want it to be here for the community.
Right.
Really. And so thank you to them, to the board members, to you, and to, I'm sure you have some staff, some grounds people that are out there mowing and working the place right now just to make sure it's ready, a month from now, depending on when this airs. But kudos to you all for the leadership. And, this is also kind of a call to the community too, to go check this out. Go experience something new. Go experience something different. Go experience something that is the heart of this country, really. I mean, agriculture was this country, and especially the Midwest, decades ago, and still is to this day. So I would say thank you to the fair, and to the community, support the fair, because it really is an important thing.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, with that, I want to thank you, and look forward to seeing you at the county fair.
Thanks for having us on, Chris.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate having Evan Hall with us today. I love how they're bringing the livestock and the agriculture back to the county fair and really using that as a tool to help connect the community to the fair and the roots of Macon County. Once again, on this podcast, it's all about educating, elevating, and celebrating everything that's good about this area. So tune into future episodes, and thank you for joining us.